Okay, guys, we have a lot to fit into 10 minutes or less. So this is a video to help you with exercise 8C, which you don't have to do now, unless I told you that before. But we'll be most likely doing it in class tomorrow. So this is just a review. It is a review of three things: noun adjective agreement, verbs and what they look like, um, and how to translate them, of course. A little bit of irregular stuff with that one. And then the first, second, and third declension adjective endings and what they look like. So we won't always be on this notebook screen. Sometimes we will be on a web page looking at something that I already have set up. So let's get started. So for right now, um, I'm going to just be adding some stuff to this sheet about noun adjective agreement because there are just some concepts you need to know. So first, the need for adjectives. Adjectives, as you know, they describe nouns. So our language wouldn't be any language wouldn't be very scintillating or very rich if there weren't descriptive words. So we need these words to make our sentences more appealing and easier to read or nicer to read, and giving us different visuals as we read, which is really important as you get higher in Latin or higher in any language for that matter. So we need to make sure that the adjectives match the nouns that they are referring to. And there's a specific way this happens. So we need to match adjectives to nouns. It's not the other way around. We don't have nouns matching adjectives. So so there are three ways that that has to happen. Not one, not two, but all three ways the adjective has to match the noun. And again, it's not the other way around. We don't change noun endings to fit an adjective. We change adjective endings to fit a noun. So I'm going to put that in here. Change adjective endings to fit the noun. And it is not the other way around. Nouns don't change. These are all really, really important things to remember as you're matching adjectives to nouns. So now the three things, three ways to match. And if you remember any of your Latin, a lot of people end up remembering this. Adjectives must match in number, so that's singular or plural, case, so that's nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, and ablative, as you've always seen it. And then we have gender, and we have, of course, the three different genders: masculine, feminine, and neuter. I put them in that order because that is the order they appear on all the adjective charts, which we'll look at in a bit. Okay, so just because an adjective matches in number, case, and gender does not mean that they will always match an ending. The endings of adjectives may not match the nouns. So this can make them a lot harder to pick out in a sentence. Okay, so let's look at some declensions of noun-adjective pairs. We're going to start with an easier one that you will probably recognize, one where the noun ending does always match the adjective ending. So we're going to start with the noun. That's the important part. Puella, that's a new word, right? You've never seen it before? Okay, so we have puella. We're going to match an adjective, and if you think back to Latin 1, you can probably guess which adjective it's going to be. It's going to be laeta for us. Okay, so you see how it matches in number, case, and gender, but in this case it also matches an ending. Puellae, laetae, following the first declension endings. Puellae again, laetae, puellam. Oh, I did it up there too. Crap. I can spell. Laetam, puella, laeta for that ablative singular, puellae, laetae, puellarum, laetarum, puellis, laetis, puellas, laetas, and puellis, laetis. Okay, so these are nice and easy. They look the way that the noun does. So you know in a sentence that they match each other. Okay, because of course you can't always depend on word order to tell you, yeah, this adjective goes with this noun because it's before or after it. Doesn't always work that way. Now let's look at a harder one. We're going to look at puer this time, but we're still going to look at laitos. Now notice that I had to switch it to laitos because the gender switched from feminine in puella up here to masculine down here with puer. Okay, so puer laitos, and then we have pueri laeti. So now they're matching and ending, but not always. Okay, puero laito, puer. Oh goodness, laitum, puero laito. And for our plurals, we're going to go pueri, laeti, puerorum, laetorum, pueris, laetis, pueros, laetos, and pueris, laetis. Okay, so a lot of times they'll match, but be careful of the ones where they don't. You still have to recognize that R is a masculine nominative singular, but us also is. Laitos is just not a word that looked good to the Romans with an R on it. Okay, so you have to be mindful of both words and their nature. Okay, now for the harder one, we're going to go to pater, third declension noun now. But we're going to stick with laitos. Laitos is a second declension adjective, so we have to be really careful. Almost none of these endings will match. Okay, pater, laitos, patris, laiti, patri, laito. Okay, so it's masculine. So we are using the same laitos forms that we did with puer up here. So these aren't going to change because they're masculine, and the case is always changing, and they're either singular or plural depending on which one. So these endings will never match. Patrem, laitum, patre, laito, and onto the plurals. Patres, laiti, patrum, laitorum, patribus, laitis, patres, laitos. And then the last one, patribus, laitis. Okay, so they don't match in ending again, but they match in number. These ones are all singular. They match in case, depending on which case we're talking about. And they match in gender, of course, because pater is masculine, laitos also has to be masculine. But what you can't change about an adjective is that the declension, okay? You cannot change the declension of an adjective. That means if an adjective is first, second declension, like laitos is, it can't change just because your noun is a different declension. Okay? And then there are third declension adjectives, and it doesn't work in much the same way. Okay, so that took me 10 minutes. Great, awesome. Now we have a lot of other stuff to look at, but it won't take us all that long. So let's look quickly. We might go to 12 minutes here. All right, the other thing we needed to talk about were verbs. Now, the thing I really just want to remind you about is this part right here, your endings that you've seen before. Okay, O or M, st, mustis, nt. Now, this little chart doesn't give you the translation, but remember, first person, OM, is translated as I, S is you, T is he, she, it, mos is we, tis is y'all, and nt is they. Now, sometimes there will have to be a vowel in front. Actually, a lot of times there will have to be a vowel in front, but not always. There are also some in the perfect that will use goofy endings with these I's. You probably remember them. Don't be alarmed. They still mean the same thing. I means the same thing as the O. Isti means the same thing as the S. It means the same thing as the T. Now, notice down here, you start to get into the same ending, just a different vowel in front. Okay? Be careful. Even though they look different, that's the hard part. They still mean the same thing. So I, you, he, she, it, we, y'all, and they. Okay? Let's go to some irregular verbs. I just have this here so that you can look at why it's irregular. This is our favorite verb, to be. And it is annoying because the stem is constantly changing. We have Sue, A, S, back to Sue, and then we have era, eri, foo, foo, and more foo. Okay, so you just have to sort of relax when it comes to irregular verbs. Know what verb it comes from. Know that the foo verbs are really some, to be, just in a different tense. Know that, but you don't have to know each individual form. Okay? And your endings mean the same thing. So MST, most is I, you, he, she, it, we, y'all, and they. And then over here, the weird I ones, E, isti, it, imus, istis, erunt. And we have I, you, he, she, it, we, y'all, and they. Oh, gosh. This chart can also be found, both of these charts in one can be found on page 138 of book 1, but also in the appendix. There are always adjective charts there. All this is showing you the endings for the particular type of adjective. Third declension adjectives are... Sorry for the interruption. Sextilius Primos just totally interrupted me. What a jerk. Okay, so the endings are annoying, yes. But I think they're kind of self-explanatory, or maybe not self-explanatory. But you can see in a sentence how an adjective is going with a certain noun based on the number, case, and gender. I want you to focus on the number, case, and gender rather than these 30 endings and these 30 endings. So good luck on 18C. The thing I want you to do for me at the bottom of the log where it says follow my directions at the end, I want you to draw a clothed stick figure with Roman clothes on. Make it authentic, little miscreants. Okay, this was kind of 13.5 minutes, but this is my first video ever. Okay? Okay, all right. Straw out.